Jonathan, you've been skeptical about the long-term viability of the euro. How has Brexit affected your views?
Well, I have been skeptical about the euro for some time, and in fact, I wrote an article last year suggesting that I didn't think the euro would last more than another decade. I think the key thing to remember about the European Union is that it was formed under the ashes of the Second World War, where the parties involved determined that they didn't want a repeat of the Second World War and the First World War, that the 20th century was very bloody for Europe. And so the first tentative steps were a common market that was started in the 1950s, and that there was a political impetus to further integrate Europe, which ultimately led to closer bonds at the formation of the European Union, and lastly, the adoption in 1999 of the euro. However, the key flaw to my mind is the fact that while one had a common currency, you didn't have a common treasury, so that the various members of euro ended up being able to manage their own domestic economies in their own way. And as a result, you've gotten enormous imbalances between the economies of Northern Europe, such as Germany, France, and Southern Europe, such as most notably Greece and Italy. And another key thing to remember too is that over and above the economic differences that we're seeing in Europe, there are very fundamental cultural differences that act as stress points or fissures in the European Union. And the recent vote of Brexit, which if it goes through, and I suspect it should, there seems to be the political will for it to go through in the UK, is not only going to remove a key member of the European Union, but also put additional stress on the fractures that are already apparent in the European Union. So I think Brexit at the end of the day is probably going to accelerate my timetable for the end of the euro. It doesn't necessarily mean the end of the European Union. I think the idea of a united Europe from the point of view of trade and the sharing of borders for the free flow of talent, I think is a very good one. But I think that clearly the euro and the financial underpinnings of the European Union have to be addressed. So the Brexit is going to accelerate, I think, that reform process. Of course, it sets up a whole set of issues for the UK. I don't think in the long run it's going to be in the interest of the UK to leave Europe. One of the things that occurred to me right away was that it flies in the face of over 500 years of British foreign policy, where the British have historically attempted to form alliances with one or more parties on the continent, and at the same time attempt to work against the formation of alliances against them. And they're going to be less likely to be as proactive in influence the politics of Europe outside of the European Union. And there, of course, from a trade standpoint, the absence of a common market with Europe, which is their largest trading partner, is going to be negative for the British economy. So Brexit is going to be problematic both for Europe in its way and certainly for the UK.